Metro Awakening. Coming from a franchise that no one was expecting to get a VR adaptation, we finally have a new AAA franchise entering the VR space. With Metro being a well-renowned survival horror franchise, and with the highly respected Vertigo games at the forefront of this game's development, does this game deliver on the high-quality experience that the Metro games are known for, or does it fall flat and leave a shallow experience that would drive anyone crazy? Wait, crazy? I was crazy once. They locked me in a room. Crazy? I was crazy once. Crazy? I was crazy once. They locked me in a room. I was crazy once. They locked me in a room. I was crazy once. There is just one small problem. I know absolutely f***ing nothing about Metro. If only there was another way to learn about the Metro franchise. Wait, what the hell is that? That's right. The Virtual Athletics League is back, helping with this channel once again. They not only got me a few days of early access to Metro Awakening, but also sent me this beautiful PR kit. We got the original book. We got a bandana from this game. We got some tea and a nice mug. We got a postcard from Sidar himself.
Perhaps it is for the voices in my head. 15 years since the great...
This is all insanely cool, and while I am a month and a half late to making this video, it would not have been possible without them, given that I was pretty broke in November. So thank you once again to the Virtual Athletics League for sending me this game and making this review possible. Metro is a franchise that started as a book by Metro is a franchise that started as a book by
Dmitry Glukovsky.
Yeah, that guy. To briefly summarize the story, the world has ended due to a nuclear winter, presumably triggered by war, and the remaining survivors are stuck in the metro tunnels of Moscow in order to survive. I mean, hey, given the way the world currently is right now, we honestly might be next. While being stuck underground for the rest of your life may sound like it kinda sucks, which it does, there's also terrifying monsters that are trying to kill any survivors remaining in the metro tunnels. Going back to the real world now, a group of developers who worked on the original Stalker game left their parent company to form their own, and they took on the task of creating a Metro 2033 video game. It wasn't nearly as successful as the original Stalker game. I mean, come on, just look at how big this game is. But the game was overall a success, and the Metro franchise has been well received amongst its fans as well as fans of just general survival horror. Fast forward to 2024, we got Metro Awakening. And unlike other franchises that got VR games, this game's announcement was met with nothing but praise and excitement. But does it hold up? Okay, you know what I'm about to ask. Let's just get to the damn review. So one thing that's immediately clear when you play this game is that it's not a direct port of the mechanics from the flat screen Metro games. Everything in this game was built from scratch for VR, and everything works to keep you as immersed as possible. Every person you interact with, every item you pick up, everything you see and interact with has a feeling of realism to them, and almost all of them have some level of functionality. For example, just check out the gas mask. You have to physically wipe off the condensation when it gets too foggy. How freaking cool is that? There's so many tiny little details that they did not need to add, but the fact they did makes the game feel more real. The inventory is also designed with immersion in mind. Need to charge your flashlight or a door for some reason? Your charger is right on your backpack. Need to heal yourself? Just grab your syringe gun. Need to swap to a different gun because you wasted all your AK ammo on a single enemy who definitely didn't make you piss yourself and now you're panicking because oh my gosh. The extra guns are in a separate pouch on your opposite shoulder. Everything is accessible on your person and you don't need to go through a stupid third menu to access your gear. While this isn't anything new, as we've seen similar inventories in other VR games, what is new is how this game plays with the accessibility of your items. Just picture, for a moment, that you're walking through the metro, dust and cobwebs surrounding you. There are some spiders crawling around, but you think nothing of it. You spot a door that needs power, so instinctively, you reach back to grab your backpack for your charger and oh my god, kill it! Kill it! Kill it with fire! This mechanic of having a spider physically blocking access to your items is something really unique to this game that adds an extra layer of tension to the select few sections that have spiders. And while it's easy to get the spider off your hand, that second of panic is enough to possibly screw you over big time. This is the first time in a VR game where I've had to consider not only if I have enough resources to keep going, but if I can even access those resources in the moment I need them. This mechanic could have easily been far more annoying, but I think it was balanced really well for the few sections that have spiders, given that these sections don't have many immediate threats to consider. There's also sections where Sidar gets kidnapped and you lose all your items, but let's be real, the spider thing is so much cooler. The gunplay in this game is beyond fantastic, which is to be expected, given that these were the same devs that made Arizona Sunshine. But one thing that caught the attention of Metro fans was the choice of guns, more specifically, the pistol. Rather than the Magnum revolver that many fans are accustomed to, we have a Tourkev pistol taking its place, but this is for a really good reason. It's infinitely easier to reload a magazine than it is to reload the individual bullets of a revolver. And if you accidentally drop all your bullets while reloading, it's also much easier to just pick up the magazine. Switching from a revolver to a pistol makes it easier to handle and reload in VR, and because it's a Tourkev pistol, the theme of it being Russian-made is still there and prevalent. Side note, when Serdar reloads his pistols, sometimes he'll say,
"I'm out of clips."
"Serdar, you f***ing idiot, they're mags, not clips."
You absolute f***ing dummy.
Aside from the pistol, we got the classic AK, a crossbow bolt gun, an interesting but very unsafe looking shotgun, and a blowgun for some reason? Honestly, I don't know, some cult members had it and it's pretty lethal. All of these guns feel fantastic to use, and an extra cool feature is the ability to swap your guns with different ones you find in the environment. This Tourkev looks better than your shitty one? Just drop it. Don't forget your ammo, noob. While we're still on the topic of guns, there's actually one more gun I've been saving for last. The mounted railgun. This thing is a blast to use. Within the first 5 minutes of the game, you're introduced to the gunplay with this gun, and it's so freaking cool. This thing is a beauty and I love it. Now before this video becomes a 5-hour video essay on just the railgun itself, to quickly summarize this section, the gameplay feels smooth, responsive, and super fun, and everything is built with immersion in mind. The developers clearly did not pull any punches with the mechanics, and even play around with your ability to use them from time to time. However, it is a horror game, so it needs to be scary, right? Given that this game is part of the Metro franchise, you would expect it to be, well, scary. A common theme among horror VR games in this day and age is, well, jump scares. And while they are more impactful in VR, given that's happening right in your face, a good number of games overuse them to the point where they just aren't scary anymore. Metro Awakening has some jump scares that are more common with the enemies that you face, but also takes some time to indulge us in some more psychological horror as well. There are plenty of times where the game just f***s with you during story beats, with the example I go back to the most being the early game. During the early game, where Max is trying to guide Serdar to find Yana, Serdar starts hearing some weird voices on the radio, when the only voice he should be hearing is Max's. It's at this point that Serdar questions if anyone is on the same radio frequency or even has a radio to begin with. And Max does confirm the odds of someone being able to reach him on the same frequency with a radio is pretty slim in the Metro tunnels.
Unless they're close to you, which means you better watch out.
This interaction sent chills down my spine. The possibility of running into someone with bad intentions was not only thrilling, but terrifying. I didn't know who was around. I didn't know what was going on. Hell, was he behind me? Actually, no way, he's already dead. Or was he? No, he's actually dead. I tested. But there are more voices and they won't stop! Sound design also plays super well into the horror of this game, especially the psychological horror. It's creepy, it's tense, and it's so well done. I mean, just listen to the sounds of the lurkers. This is horrifying. I was legitimately on the verge of pissing myself when I heard these sounds for the first time. In a horror game, sound matters the most in portraying the actual horror of your game, and the sound design of this game nails it on the head perfectly. On top of the psychological horror and the sound design, the atmosphere also does an incredible job of playing into this game's horror. There's this feeling of claustrophobia wherever you are in the game, whether it be in the wide open areas, or especially when you're in the tight vents that lead from area to area, or let you move around some enemies. There's just this feeling in the back of the head that something could jump out at you in the vents, and you would not be able to see it coming. I think it's these three factors, being the psychological horror, the sound design, and the claustrophobic feeling of the Metro tunnels, that not only makes Metro Awakening scary, but gives it its own unique kind of horror that I haven't really experienced in any VR game up to this point. While the game is never nightmare-inducing, I would argue that it's scarier than your average VR game, and does a good job of holding up to the title of being a horror game. I don't know how to segue this, we're just gonna go to the story. So, normally I do an in-depth dive into the story, but given them a full month and a half late to releasing this video, and I'd also like to keep this video as spoiler-free as possible, I'm only gonna cover the general plot points without going too deep into the big reveals, aside from the ones that pertain to the Metro franchise as a whole. If you want zero spoilers at all, skip to the timestamp. If you don't care about spoilers, please continue watching. So the game's story starts as kind of this convoluted and confusing mess, but as you play through the game, it develops into this deep and comprehensive story that makes sense at the end. There are 3 subplots that make up the game's overarching story, which are Yana's disappearance, the cult of the worm, and Sidar's origin and evolution into an established character in the Metro games. For those who haven't played the rest of the Metro games, this is Khan. Why is he named that? Because apparently he's the reincarnation of Genghis Khan. The same Genghis Khan who slaughtered millions, became the first ruler of the Mongol Empire.
Nice going, Genghis. I bet that will last a long time.
And got embarrassed by Bill and Ted over a Twinkie.
Want a Twinkie, Genghis Khan? Say please.
Khan is a mysterious character in the franchise, and this game does an excellent job of showcasing his supernatural abilities without fully explaining them, which is the best way they could have gone about it because it keeps him mysterious while providing some background into his character. And I think this game serves as the perfect origin story for Khan's character and the rest of the franchise, which I still haven't played yet. I should get on that. I'll be brutally honest, I wasn't expecting to care about Yana that much as a character, but the game did something really smart with her at the beginning by having us interact with her before she disappears. We can see some of her struggles with still being haunted by the voice of her dead son, as well as her relationship with Sidar that is kind of on rocky terms because, well, he's a doctor and he's trying to medicate her, because the medications that Sidar is providing is stopping her from hearing the voices of her dead son. Yana's character isn't fully believable, but it's believable enough to where we care about her and we want to go after her, even though she's, how do I say this politely, batshit insane. The cult of the worm, though, I honestly don't know what to say. They're just a general cult. They do human sacrifices, they have weird drawings in the walls, they have this tribal-like behavior, they worship this monster that is consuming everything. I don't know, man. I'm still struggling to make sense of the cult of the worm, so forgive me if I'm not diving too deep into this one. Aside from the cult of the worm, the story is very well done, and being able to see Sidar's origin into Khan is a really cool origin story that makes me excited to play the Metro games and see how his character develops throughout the franchise. Alright, that should be enough. Let's just wrap up this video and... Psych, bitch! Did you think I forgot about the issues too? As much as I love this game and think it's a fantastic VR game, this game did have some issues, some being a lot more glaring than others. The biggest issue out of all of them, which breaks my heart with this game, is performance. I was playing this game on Steam VR, so I can't speak much for how this game is on Quest, but it is so inconsistent with how it performs on PC. Sometimes the game will be buttery smooth, and I can do what I want with zero issues, and other times, the game starts lagging like crazy, and the only way to fix it is to completely close and reopen the game. I've spoken so highly about how immersive this game is, but this shitty optimization completely obliterated any immersion I had in the early game, as well as some parts of the later game where it just happened with no explanation. Part of the reason why I waited for so long to review this game was just the hope they would fix this, and it still isn't fixed. Now, to be fair, it could just be my GPU, but I shouldn't be getting frame drops this bad in the early sections of the game on the lowest settings possible. I'm also not the only one having these issues. This seems to be widespread amongst a good number of PC players as well. Now, getting away from the performance a bit, some of the smaller issues I had with the game came down to how repetitive the game was at times, and how some areas were just dark. I gave Batman Arkham Shadow some shit for repeating some areas, but if I thought that was repetitive, there are so many areas in this game that look exactly the same, even though they're supposed to be visually different. You do revisit some areas while playing this game, which is fine, but if the idea is to make each area look super distinct, I honestly don't think that was accomplished as well as it could have been. There's also some gameplay elements that are repetitive and boring, with the major ones being the labyrinth and the minecart sections. Both of these sections start out as super impressive and fun to play through, but after a while, they lost their charm. The labyrinth, while it has a cool design, is very easy to get lost in, and having it loop on itself multiple times back to the exact same room over and over and over again, it gets frustrating. Now, sure, it's a labyrinth, that's kind of the point of it, but when there's no marker for which path you've taken, and there's spiders everywhere trying to kill you, I got lost in that labyrinth for a good half an hour before I eventually found the way through dumb luck and was able to continue. I really would have liked some way to know which paths I've taken, so I could still figure it out on my own, without being lost for what felt like an eternity, and not feel like I was making any progress at all. The minecart sections, while fun at first, given the fact that I got to use a freaking minigun, honestly got really boring after doing them multiple times. Now, I love the minigun so much, but I'm one man. I can only fight off so many of these stupid wall monsters with a minigun before I get bored. These minecart sections go from epic battles of defending yourself to feeling like they're just there to artificially add playtime to the rest of the game. And that is not a good feeling to have. If these two sections were made less repetitive or frustrating, I honestly think that would make a much better player experience. Another issue I have with the game is just how dark it is. Some of this footage does have its brightness turned up a little bit, but from my perspective, the game was just dark, and it's damn near impossible to see in some areas, even with the flashlight. If this imposing darkness was part of some story beats where this was intentional, then I'm fine with that. But there are multiple areas with enemies that you just can't see, or these shadow ghost things that could insta-kill you if you aren't careful. And I walked into these things multiple times without realizing what the hell was going on. Having more light in areas with enemies in general so you can see them would be super helpful, but for the times where the darkness was being used as a storytelling tool, I'm fine with that. Overall though, the performance was the biggest thing that I have an issue with. If the smaller issues like the repetition of some areas and the darkness weren't fixed, I could be fine with that, but the performance being this inconsistent and the fact that it still has not been fixed yet is just not great. Now that I've spent the past couple minutes yapping about this game, what are my honest thoughts about the game? The game focuses first and foremost on immersion, and everything is designed with that in mind, from the inventory to the guns and all the interactions you can have with the world. The game is genuinely scary throughout, and it's able to capitalize on the immersive mechanics by messing with you not only psychologically, but physically. The one thing holding this game back is the performance on PC. And again, I cannot speak for Quest because I do not own it on Quest. Is the game still worth it though? Let me put it this way. It's very rare when a VR game makes me want to go out and play the rest of the games in the franchise. The last game that did that for me was Half-Life Alyx. Metro Awakening makes me want to go out and play the rest of the Metro games. And if a VR game can do that for me, I would call that more than just a success. What I'm saying is, yes, this is worth it. Go buy it now. It's an incredible survival horror experience that is by far the best VR game in its genre to date. But what do y'all think? Have y'all played Metro Awakening? Did you enjoy it? Let me know down below. If you enjoyed the video, then do the subscribe thing, follow me on my socials, join my Discord, and I still don't have an outro, so bye.